Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and today we're finally going to be taking a look at the Earthquaker Devices Astral Destiny pedal. This is not going to be a full run through every single setting, every single tonal possibility. The pedal has been out for just over a year, so if you're looking for something like that, I would recommend other kind of videos or sources of information for that. I'm just going to be talking about a few things that I like about it and showing off some of the sounds and some of the things that I find very useful and not so useful with this pedal. And I suppose it makes sense to begin with why I purchased this pedal. That's because I was looking for a shimmer reverb. One thing I really loved about the Neural DSP Quad Cortex was that it had a great sounding shimmer reverb on it. And it was one of those effects that I didn't know how much I loved it until I didn't have it anymore. I have the Strymon Volante, really cool pedal in its own right. I have the Zelza, also really cool. And the HX Stomp. That thing doesn't really have that kind of feature to it. There's ways you can kind of mess around and get a pseudo one, but it's not quite the same kind of feel to it. So this one has a fantastic one. I'm going to let you hear what it sounds like right now. Now, if you noticed at the end of that phrase, it kind of did the wah. That's because I hit the other foot switch that's available on it. That's a stretch that can be used in two different ways. You can use it in that sense where you have it down and the red light comes on. But if you start your phrase with it already on and then you click it again, it's going to bring everything back up. So depending on what kind of composition you're working on, it can be extremely useful. And one thing that I love about this is if you want to turn the pedal off and the effect off entirely and have it naturally kind of tail off, you just turn the main on-off power switch on or off and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about anything as far as hitting two switches at once, which is a little bit of a lifesaver at times. Sometimes your foot will miss one and the other one will stay on. Trust me, I've done that before. Now I'm going to tell you the same thing that I told Earthquaker Devices directly. If this pedal only came with this feature on it, I'd still happily pay the price of admission because to me, it just sounds fantastic. Now, going on to some of the other things here. I'm going to talk about one thing about this pedal I don't really care for and I kind of always have rolled off. That is the rate knob. Now the rate knob basically gives you how much control you have over the modulation that is also introduced when you're using any given one of these kinds of effects presets. Now what I'm going to be doing in this first example is I'm going to be playing it with the rate all the way up. I believe on the Astro preset, I'm going to roll it to all the way down. Then I'm going to put it in the middle. And I want you to hear just how big of a difference it makes. Now some of you might be going for that thing, and it's one of those tones where it's extremely over the top, and when you're playing just your guitar, it might seem a little bit overwhelming, and that might be part of the reason why I typically tend to have the rate turned down instead of cranked up a little bit. I feel like it gets a little bit overbearing. However, with that being said, once you start introducing other instruments into a mix, it kind of does fade back a little bit, and I might find myself raising the rate to kind of accentuate the effect a little bit more, if you will, so it stands out a little bit better. The next mode we're going to be talking about is the sub shimmer. It adds an octave lower than what you're playing and an octave higher than what you're playing, in addition to a little bit of extra reverb trails on top, just for good measure. This is my favorite if you're going to be using like a fuzz pedal, or in the example that you're going to be hearing, we're using the Optimist on the Klon section, the Overdrive 1. it just sounds so good. If you play just little bits of phrases, nothing too complicated, and then you give space to let the actual pedal do the work and breathe for you, and while you rest on the guitar, man, this motif that you're about to hear, I have tried to play this without this after playing it with it, and it just sounds butt-ass naked. So I love it. And the last thing I want to talk about here is the Cosmos setting, but overall just kind of a songwriting and perspective thing. I feel like effects like this, even if it's not the Earthquaker Devices Astral Destiny, if you have something that's really cool and really eerie sounding, if you throw in a diminished chord, an augmented chord, or something just to add in super tension to it, if you do it just straight up clean, you're still going to get people to kind of jump back, because those chords will do that when you use them in the correct spaces in a composition. But if you add in a really intense effect like that to really intensify this kind of notion and this kind of emotion from the listener, it can really make the part stand out even more. But that's going to wrap up this quick video on the Earthquaker Devices Astral Destiny pedal. I could go on and on about it, but one thing about this is I start to noodle. And I start to noodle a lot. I could lose track of hours with a pedal like this, and that can be a really good thing, but sometimes when you have other obligations, it's best to call it quits while you're still ahead and while you still can have some time to be productive in other areas. However, I do love this pedal, and I definitely recommend that you check it out, or just check out something different. Throw on a weird pedal on your pedal board. You might be surprised what comes out, especially that motif, that kind of anthem-y thing. I don't think I would have written that if I didn't have this pedal to kind of inspire me to do so. So that's all I have. Leave a like on the video if you enjoy the content on this channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow for another guitar-related video. Take it easy, you guys.